Good day, everybody, and welcome to another story time. Yesterday was my father's birthday, and I was talking to him on the phone, and he actually reminded me of a story that's his, not mine. So today I'll be telling you a story from his perspective. It takes place in Puerto Rico, where we're from. We were raised in a town called Vega Baja. It's northeast of the island, and it's next to the beaches. The roads there are pretty freaking narrow. There's a lot of sugarcane fields, a lot of vegetation, very poorly lit. And the story takes place on one of these roads on one night. He was driving with my grandmother, and they're going around a curve. And as they're going around the curve, they see what they initially thought to be a woman in the middle of the road that may have been struck by a vehicle. And both of them were pretty freaked out and were hesitant to look, as they didn't want to see a mangled body. And they finally mustered up enough courage to go and take a look. When they looked, what they saw is what they described was a half man, half dog like creature who was laid on its side with his hand draped over his face. Very long hair all over its body, which is why they initially thought it was a female, because of long hair, and that's all they could see with the headlights. So needless to say, they scurried out of there pretty quick and made their way back home. Now, when they got back home, my sister and I and all our friends from the neighborhood were still playing outside. It was nighttime, but it wasn't too late. It was like 7 or 8 o'clock. And my mother was out with all the neighbors talking, watching us play, as they would be. So they get home in a quick hurry, tires screeching, and they begin to tell us the story of what they've just seen. As they're telling us the story, we hear this gut-wrenching howl out of nowhere. It goes, "Woo!" Now, in Puerto Rico, if you've been, you know there's a lot of stray dogs everywhere. But this thing didn't sound human, and it didn't sound like a dog that you would hear from the neighborhood. What it was, we don't know. And to make the story even more interesting, one of the neighbors was hearing what my father was saying, and they go and get their husband quickly and say, hey, listen, can you tell my husband this story? Because he doesn't believe what I saw a few days ago. So it turns out this neighbor 4 days ago had seen the same creatures. There's 4 of them, and they were running from the beach into the sugarcane fields. And they would switch between running on 4 legs and 2 legs, almost like they were, you know, half dog, half human. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about werewolves. It's a little far-fetched, right? But what if it's not werewolves? What if it's something else, like skinwalkers? You ever heard of skinwalkers? They're not just Native American folklore. They've been documented all over the world, and they're shapeshifters. So who's to say that's not what this was? You know. The next day, they decided to go back to the site where they had seen the body on the road. And when they get there, instead of it's daytime, by the way, they're not going to go back there at night. But when they get there, what they see is instead of the body is a feces left by maybe an animal, maybe a human. It was pretty big in size, and you know, it's pretty nasty to talk about, but that's what they saw. And it had a black candle stuck inside of it. So is this witchcraft? Are these shapeshifters? Are they skinwalkers? Who knows? That was my father's story from Puerto Rico. I remember being a little kid and seeing the look on his face and the excitement in his voice when he was telling the story. So yeah, who knows what they saw that night. Tell me what you think in the comments down below.